Man.
Underneath the water, deep
Man.
at the bottom of the sea.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Zach,
And I'm Seth.
and we're the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right. We are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right.
Well, here we are again. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Sunday. 3 big days.
You know, I just remembered.
What?
There used to be a person that used to be on our Facebook that would always sad react whenever we posted.
They angry reacted.
Angry react,
I thought.
that's what it was.
Yeah, there was somebody that used to angry react to every time that we posted because it was Sunday.
Well, I just think it's weird that, like, they were following us and they got offended by us posting every Sunday.
And for people who follow us on Facebook, that's the only time we post.
We literally post once a week. Occasionally we
Sunday.
post rarely at a random time of the week, being like, hey, this thing's happening.
We do write the post. It's not generated via AI.
And I don't pre-schedule anything. I post everything on Sunday.
Yes. Well, sometimes isn't the episode loaded to launch?
Yeah, but I can't cross-post it to Facebook because of the way
Oh, no.
Podbean interacts anymore. So
We did that once and it exploded Facebook. Well, with the garbage that's on Facebook today, seeing our face over and over again isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I hope there's one person out there that only follows us and they don't follow anyone else. So it's only our face.
But that's not how it works anymore because of the ads.
Oh yeah, because the ads and the algorithm and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
well,
true.
I think I've scrolled through Facebook. I think I get like 6 ads per friend post.
Yeah.
Is there a button? There's supposed to be a button that just makes it people? I thought.
I think so. And I've definitely gone through my ad settings and changed stuff so that I don't see weird ads. And I still see
I only
weird
engaged
ads.
with weird ads.
Yes, but that gives you more weird ads.
Yeah. So then it's same with YouTube. I only engage in weird videos.
Oh yeah.
The same with Instagram Reels. I only engage in weird Instagram Reels. So then my wife will be like sitting in bed. It happened recently. We were up in Salem, actually. We were in bed and we were just like scrolling through our Reels. And I was sending my wife Reels and she's like, you have some weird Reels. And I was like, oh yeah, my whole Reels, like my entire like algorithm is really, really weird. And so she came over and like was watching me scroll through and she's like, what is this? Like, why do you she's like, first of all, why do you have so many people just randomly singing? And it's not even like badly singing. It's all like high production satire songs.
Oh yeah.
And they're just people singing about silly stuff but doing it in a very professional manner. And I'm like, yeah, it's just my content. It's what I like. I like fun.
I get a lot of clips from shows that I've never watched in my life. So
Oh yeah.
I get like scene compilations of The Blacklist with James Spader, and sometimes I get The Good Wife, which I've never watched either of those shows. I've never had an interest in those shows, but I get a lot of them.
I get clips from a movie that I've never seen, and then I try to figure out what movie it is.
I get a lot of clips from My Cousin Vinny, which I have seen, but it's just a lot of that.
I get clips from some random movies that I never know what they are. I'm like, that scene seems interesting. And then I have to scroll like 400 comments to figure out what movie it is, get the movie, look it up, and then I'm like, I want to watch this.
Yeah.
But that's because we spend too much time on social media and not enough time playing the video games.
Speaking of which, Seth, what have you been recently playing?
So everyone, recently it was Next Fest, Steam Next Fest. It's my favorite time of the year. I download a bunch of demos, play them for about 15 minutes and go, nope. Then I move on. There are some that I really enjoyed. I'm not going to remember to talk about all of them. So some of the games that I played that I had a good time playing, there was Iron Nest Heavy Turret Simulator. I don't know if you got a chance to play that. But you live in a turret, like a gigantic turret, and you have to use math to bomb people.
It looks really similar to another game that is like there's no demo available for it yet. I want to play it though when there is a demo, and it's called Engine of Sin, and you are surviving in the last mech on a planet that's been overrun by kaiju.
Oh, that's fun. I'll have to look up that Engine of Sin. But yeah, Iron Nest Heavy Turret Simulator, you live in a turret and you have to bomb targets. I like the game. However, one of the first missions, they give you a little thing to tell you what to bomb, and they said bomb the town, and then they gave me some coordinates, and I said, I must bomb these coordinates. No, the coordinates were for spotters. So I ended up blowing up one of our friendly spotters who were out there spotting for us, because I was supposed to triangulate, and instead I just blew up one of the corners of the triangle. They do not like it when you do that in war, just as an FYI. There was also Retro Space, which is like a horror. It's like a horror 70s kind of like old school FPS. Kind of reminded me a little bit of like a simpler System Shock.
Okay.
And you have to explore a space station with a very like 1970s motif. Yeah. There's the game Ravage, which is an adventure game where you're in an abandoned space station and you're trying to solve puzzles. I've played it a couple times, and the demo at least, and it's a game that I will pick up when it comes out. Stronghold 4, enough said. And the game that I want to talk about today is Security 51, which is being developed by Alaware and is going to be released sometime in 2026. And you play as the desk security officer within Area 51, specifically an elevator that goes deeper into the building. And you're given various different items to make sure that if they're able to be cleared or not to go through, a la Papers, Please. But you can also scan people for if they have weird growths and tell them that they can't go in. You also, if they have mixed matched paperwork, you can say you don't go in. But you also, the interesting thing is that you have to bring people back out. So there's people down underneath you and you control the elevator. So you have to like get enough people in the elevator, then send the elevator down, pick the elevator people up and bring them back up, and make sure that they're not things to be crazy like aliens, because then you could isolate them or quarantine them or like kill them before opening the elevator. And there was an interesting note in the game. It said like you're only supposed to do the things that you're supposed to look out for. So if it doesn't tell you to look out for weird growths and people are coming into the station with weird growths and they have the rest of the paperwork, you can't deny them entry. You have to let them in. So it's a very cool kind of Papers, Please type game that those games always really they jive with me. And so that's a Security 51 coming out sometime in 2026. Cool. And the demo I think is still available, and it was available during Next Fest.
Very cool.
Zach.
Yes, Seth.
What have you recently been playing?
Seth, recently I've been playing Battlefront 2. I've been jumping into the multiplayer for that, but I've been specifically playing a mod of Battlefront 2 called Battlefront Plus, which is available through the Kyber mod launcher. So the Kyber mod launcher was put together by fans of the game who got a little sad about the fact that EA, A, is no longer supporting Battlefront 2, and B, is DICE announced that they are not making Battlefront 3. And people were a little sad because some people do like the new Battlefront games, and people said, well, let's just add on to Battlefront the stuff that we like and also improve on what's already there. So this mod, Battlefront Plus, does a lot of stuff. For one, it overhauls a lot of the units. It rebalances some of the weapons. It unlocks all of the star cards and weapons so that every person who plays on a level playing field. So you don't have people who are able to unlock higher tier weapons and use those against people who are still level 1. Everyone has access to all the same stuff if you would like it. The Kyber mod launcher curates servers that are private and also able to selectively keep out people who use those type of hacks. But the Battlefront Plus mod is also great because it adds a ton of new content beyond the tweaks and fixes. It updates the reinforcement characters that you can unlock. For example, you can now play as a clone flame trooper. There's a Republic gunner, combat engineer, sharpshooter, Gungan warrior, aqua droid, magna guards, tactical droids, rebel honor guard, rebel commandos, rebel pilots, rebel saboteurs, imperial purge troopers, royal guard troopers, shock troopers, and so on and so on. For added heroes, it's an equally massive mix of new and old characters. Some classic characters like everyone's favorite Nine Nub, also Dengar, Jango Fett, as well as new old characters such as the Mandalorian. It also adds popular characters like Grand Admiral Thrawn and Padme, Asajj Ventress.
But they all haven't lived together.
No. The way Battlefront is structured is you have two types of gameplays. You have Supremacy and Galactic Assault. Those are the two main ones. In, I think it's Supremacy, it's based on the era you're playing in, so certain heroes can only play against certain villains. So, for example, you can have Clone War era characters with Clone War era villains, or, Galactic Republic, blah, 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 blah. For the other mode, it's a hodgepodge of whoever you want. So you can conceivably have Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi fight Darth Vader. You can also have Anakin Skywalker fight Darth Vader. I mean, you could have Dengar teaming up with Jango Fett and Boba Fett and Bosk and Greedo and go on a bounty hunting adventure if you truly wanted all your friends to go bounty hunter.
Yeah, most of those people are very incompetent.
Yeah. In fact, only one of those people is arguably the most competent. That's Boba Fett.
Yeah, I'm going to say something, though. As much as I love Boba Fett, he did die from getting whacked in the back from a jetpack, and Jango Fett got his head chopped off by a Jedi.
That's
so,
true.
If anyone says that Boba Fett is better than Jango Fett, you're right. But, arguably, Jango Fett at least wouldn't die from getting whacked with a stick.
Technically, Boba Fett didn't die either. He came right on back.
Yeah,
but
that's true. But Bosk, Dengar, and Greedo are decidedly all not the greatest of bounty hunters.
One of the things I also really like is the fact that it adds in updated outfits for a lot of the characters, including characters that were already playable in Battlefront 2. So, for example, Boba Fett was already a playable character in Battlefront 2. However, the only outfit you can wear for him was just the bog standard Boba Fett outfit. However, with Battlefront Plus, it adds in his new design that appears in The Mandalorian with the more matte color paint and the black robes. There's also the prototype version of Boba Fett, which is all white. And there is the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, which is slightly different than the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett by just a few details. This is definitely a game made by fans for fans. And I really like the expandability of the different skins and characters that you can have. One of my favorites is the fact that the clone troopers have like a bajillion different color variations, so you can have every gosh darn troop like that exists out there. Every unit that has ever shown up in the Clone Wars cartoon or in the movies is now available. It adds in Captain Rex, Commander Cody, some like big names for characters in the Clone Wars era. Like I said, Grand Admiral Thrawn is now a playable hero. But yeah, Battlefront Plus is a great mod. I've been really enjoying it. I really like the balancing. I have fun playing Battlefront as a multiplayer game. I'm not really super big in multiplayer because I really don't like interacting with people I don't know. So I like stay out of chat and I don't do voice chat. But Battlefront Plus at least allows me to have fun and kind of enjoy myself while playing the game. I will say the players on Battlefront Plus are pretty welcoming to all types of players. So if you've never played Battlefront before and you want to start with Battlefront Plus, go right ahead. You do need to own the game first, so you can't just like play it. You do need to own the game, download the Kyber mod launcher, download the appropriate mods, and then you're good to go. But yeah, that's Star Wars Battlefront Plus. It's what I've been playing recently. And today we're doing an episode that's a listener request from our dear listener, Sean. Sean asked me in a message, he said, Zach, have you guys talked about Seaman? And I said, we've definitely talked about Seaman. And then Seth reminded me, we talked about Seaman back in episode 31 when we talked about the Dreamcast.
8.
38?
38.
Oh, 38. I thought just 8.
No, 8 was a different time.
So back in episode 38, we talked about Seaman briefly when we talked about the Dreamcast. I thought we also talked about it in our episode we did on like Fever Dream games, but I guess not. So this is going to be our Seaman
Maybe because
episode.
we never had it, so we never had a Fever Dream about it.
That's true. That was primarily games that we felt like fever dreams because we
like
were
Space
like Kids. Yeah. I still don't think it's a real game, but I know for a fact it is. Like I've seen physical pictures
Space
of it.
Kids
I
is a
remember
real
playing
game.
it. I know, but it doesn't feel like a real game when I describe it to people.
Did you know it was also a Space Kids? Oh, damn. There's apparently there was a 2020 show called Space Kids, was unrelated, but the very small image, the very small image of it as a preview image showed Jupiter and Saturn, and the way it looked like Space Kids, and then the Saturn looked like that stupid plane. It just looked like that image was so small, and I just looked at it, and I was like, did they make a Space Kids the show out of the very weird video game? No, it's about planets, and it's using NASA footage and stuff like that, which I would say is boring.
Yes. I mean, arguably, the Space Kids that we remember was boring, but beyond the
it's surreal.
Speaking of surreal, Seaman is incredibly surreal. Sometimes there's a game that's developed out there and released, and there isn't really a better way to describe it than by saying you should go on your computer and Google Seaman for the Dreamcast. That's Seaman, Seaman for the Dreamcast. And the first image that probably will pop up for you will thoroughly explain why this game is surreal. You will likely see the image that everyone sees when you think about Seaman, and that is he's a fish with a human face and a tentacle on his forehead. And he looks terrifying because it's kind of an uncanny human face, as in it's the best graphics that the Dreamcast could render, but they definitely didn't make it cartoony. They made it kind of realistic looking human face.
But it's unfortunate he doesn't look like a tadpole.
Which there is a tadpole version of him that exists.
That's interesting. But he does look like a fish most of the time.
Yes. And to basically explain Seaman without going too in depth, and we'll talk about gameplay later, it's basically a Tamagotchi game, except instead of raising something adorable and cute, you're raising an affront to nature. It is a terrifying creature. Now to level set everyone, to get everyone into the history and the story of Seaman, the original design of the game came from a Japanese developer named Ute Saito. Ute Saito was the founder of a company called Vivarium. Born Yutaka Saito, and later taking the nom de plume of Ute, Yootsaito, Ute Saito. He had previously attended Waseda University, and after graduating college would join a recruitment agency. During this time, he would work on some side projects, including designing and publishing a game called The Tower, which was a tower simulator game that would later be licensed as Sim Tower through Maxis, meaning that one of the first games that he ever made became a huge success. And instantly, Ute Saito became a recognized name in game development. He even made a follow-up to his The Tower game and created Ute Tower, which was a follow-up to Sim Tower just under his branding. He would leave the recruitment agency and then would go to start a company called Vivarium. And the first game that they would develop would, of course, be Seaman. And the idea came about because Saito and his coworkers were sitting around one day and they were just talking about games that they wanted to develop. And one of them suggested, wouldn't it be fun if we had a fish simulator game? And someone, I guess, was like, yeah, what if that fish had like a human face? And that was kind of where the line of thought went. And I guess Saito went home that night and told his wife this idea, and she said, that's terrifying, I love it. And he said, okay. So the team at Vivarium got to work on developing Seaman, and they started work developing the game on Macintosh computers and then would transfer the game over to the Dreamcast. From the beginning of development, the game was always intended to use a microphone. In early playtests, one thing that was fleshed out was the need to get players to speak shorter sentences. Part of the way the game works is that you give Seaman certain commands via the microphone, or you just tell him things, and if he doesn't understand the commands, he'll tell you. He'll say he doesn't understand. In early playtests, however, overly complex sentences would trigger Seaman to say the sentence, "Can you say that again?" Only to get caught in a loop as players would just repeat the sentence they just said, which Seaman doesn't understand, and would repeat, "Can you say that again?" And it would just go on for as long as really the playtester would realize that it would go on for. To remedy this, Saito would change the phrase to, "You talk too long, I don't understand," which I think is much more able to clarify that you need to shorten your sentences. In many ways, Seaman kind of uses a text parser, just a vocal text parser, as opposed to the written form that we've discussed with adventure games like Police Quest and King's Quest.
Sega had wanted a celebrity to voice Seaman himself, but Saito was hesitant, largely because celebrities were expensive. Instead of paying a celebrity to do the voice, Saito instead did the voice himself, and thus was able to record as long as he wanted and as many times as he needed without any issues of cost being associated. Clearly, Saito did value his own time. Similarly, the baby Seaman is voiced by Saito's daughter, and a younger iteration of Seaman is voiced by a programmer's daughter. So Saito also clearly didn't value the time of children. The narrator in the Japanese version would be Toshiyuki Hosokawa, a Japanese actor and disc jockey who was popular in the 1970s and 1980s. The English language version would cast Leonard Nimoy as the narrator.
Hello. Welcome to the laboratory of Jean-Paul Gachet.
The localization to the US market took around 9 months. Changes made included removing the reference to sex, politics, and Japanese slang. Seaman also originally had the ability to read a player's memory card in the Japanese version, but this would be removed in the US version. The game itself would be released in Japan on July 29th, 1999, and then it was released in North America on August 8th, 2000. So what is Seaman about, and who exactly is Seaman?
The game itself is about you playing as the pet owner given responsibility of raising a seaman. The seaman species are a mysterious fish-like... Huh?
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
What if you had 2 seamans?
Oh, I guess you have some seamen. You got seamen all over the place if you have a whole pod of them, right? The game puts you in the job of a pet owner, caretaker of a person raising a seaman, from egg to whenever it dies. The seaman species is a mysterious fish-like creature with human face, later becomes a frog-like creature with a human face. In the game, you're required to meet all of Seaman's needs or he will die. In fact, the game operates in real time, meaning if you forget to play it for a period of time and you start up your Dreamcast and it says, oh, you've been offline for quite some time, because the Dreamcast did have an internal clock, your Seaman probably starved to death. So it's kind of like Hey You Pikachu for the N64, but only if you were also able to kill Pikachu due to neglect, which you're not able to do in Hey You Pikachu. Now let's dive into this convoluted story that would go with this game, because you'd be surprised, maybe, to learn that this game has a very convoluted story. Thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt, Seaman was once the son of Djoser, the first pharaoh of the 3rd dynasty. Seaman falls in love with the daughter of the priest Emotep. However, he belonged to a different social class, so their marriage was forbidden. Emotep takes pity on him and consults with Toth to find a way to have the marriage go forward. Toth had a big brain moment and decided to transform Seaman and his lover, the daughter of Emotep, into a fish, and also a bird. Toth, thinking that they would evolve back to human and find each other, and hopefully to help them, Djoser would build a magical pyramid so the couple could potentially find each other in a later life of evolution. A lot of this lore comes from the defunct website of Ute.com, which was Ute Saito's website, which continues to tell the story.
And there's also the Seaman Wikipedia.
The Seaman Wikipedia. But, well, so the original manual told you to go to, whatisseaman.com, which was a redirect to Ute.com. So a lot of the 1930s lore, which we'll get into, was originally available to players at the time.
So the question is here, so in the past, he was a fish man.
Yes.
And all he has evolved into the 1930s is that he has grown a human face?
I guess so, yeah.
So long way to becoming a human. So Toth really just screwed them.
Also, I know that the story of him being this, the son of Djoser and being turned into the fish is retroactively referring to him as Seaman, but I also like to imagine that Djoser just named his son Seaman. And
I thought his name was just Seaman.
It might be just Seaman.
Yeah, that's his name. Why do you think they call it Seaman?
It's a good name.
So if his name was Cedric, the game would just be called Cedric. He would just happen to be a fish man.
Now, the story would continue. In the 1930s, French biologist Dr. Jean-Paul Gasse and a team of researchers traveled to Egypt on assignment from the French government. Dr. Gasse was looking for a creature that he believed to be the omnipotent messenger of the gods. While in Alexandria, Dr. Gasse meets a fisherman who had actually caught a seaman.
Oh,
The fisherman Gaves.
the Seaman.
No, this was just a Seaman, not the Seaman.
Where are these other Seamen coming from?
Well, so like Seaman spawned over the years and in generations, and now it's a species.
Was there a bird lady out there?
I don't know. Maybe. But the fisherman, anyway, gives Dr. Gass a sample of eggs, and Dr. Gass attempts to raise these eggs, though they die shortly after hatching. Dr. Gass would publish a thesis that proposed that the Seaman creatures are crucial to transferring knowledge across the third dynasty between the various lands. So his theory is that people would use the Seaman and like tell it stuff, and then it would go across the ocean and it would tell other people the things, and that's how information used to travel back in the day, was through talking to fish. Dr. Gass is fired for his beliefs, as I would fire him for those beliefs, and he would go into exile. Rumors would point to him living on a remote island in Southeast Asia, potentially pursuing the legend of the Seaman. His history becomes a bit unclear as World War II would break out and Southeast Asia was involved, and from there, some of his work would kind of go unknown, and there'd be kind of a period of uncertainty. However, despite his controversial beliefs at the time, Dr. Gass's theories would form the basis of a research institution called the Anthrobial-Archaeological Research Institute, established by the French government in 1996. Also known as ABRI, ABRI would publish a research paper in 1997 that points to the Seaman species being closely related to the origins of the ancient civilizations of Egypt. And in 1999, part of Gast's journal and notes end up in a storehouse in Japan. From there, Professor Kendari Takahashi, part of the Japanese branch of ABRI, is able to successfully breed Seaman eggs, and from that point forward, Seaman were readily available to find in Japanese aquariums all over the country. So if you traveled to Japan in this fictional universe, you too may have seen Seaman in the aquarium. You could have seen Seamen in the aquarium if you knew where to look.
You know, if Seaman was discovered in 2026, whoever found him would have just killed it immediately. Been like, nope, not this. Now, your job as a Seaman caretaker, and you could pretend that you're a caretaker anywhere. Maybe you are in one of these Japanese aquariums caretaking for a Seaman, or perhaps he is in an aquarium in your own home. But your job is to raise the Seaman using the power of your voice and your knowledge. The species is a lonely sort, and they desire companionship. So beyond the normal feeding of the animal, you're required to tell it all about events and listen to its trivia.
So, as I was saying before, there are a lot of really amazing things about the internet, but as with everything else, it's not completely perfect.
Sometimes the stuff doesn't make sense, and sometimes the trivia isn't real, like true information.
Right. And he wasn't live updating, so like
No.
9/11 is just a normal day for Seaman. He does not remember. What if somebody takes Seaman and just layers in a large language model?
Arguably, isn't Seaman just a large language model already?
It's true. A larger language model. Now, the Seaman species has a specific life cycle. Upon hatching from its egg, it first forms its optic organ with a flagellum for movement. In this phase, the Seaman is unable to communicate. This stage of the life is called the mushroomer and needs to be devoured in order to advance. Once eaten by a nautilus, the mushroomer will consume the predator from the inside out and enter the stage called the gillman. So it's like a screwworm.
Yeah, it is like a screwworm. Timely.
The gillman is probably the best known stage of Seaman. It's a fish with a human face and a tentacle-like tube on its forehead. This is the stage, if discovered, would be killed. The Seaman can communicate with you, though mostly gibberish and occasionally repetition of phrases. You have to continue to feed and care for the gillman as it matures, grows, and begins to communicate more clearly.
That's right. Next up is the podfish, which resembles the gillman but has legs, which, if you thought gillman was terrifying, add legs. Now, the podfish are primarily the breeding stage of the Seaman, so podfish males will breed and then immediately die after mating, and females will lay eggs and then immediately die after laying eggs. However, after these eggs hatch, they do not form mushroomers. In fact, they form the next stage of Seaman's life cycle, the Tadman. The Tadman is a tadpole-like creature. It has a deep voice and grows small limbs, which I hate that. Tadmen will eat their siblings, and when their numbers are down to only 2, they will leave the water and begin walking on land and turning into Frogman. Frogman is the final stage. Resembling a frog with a human face and a tentacle tube on its head, frogmen can live on water and land. They ate insects. They also speak more fluidly, and they are an affront to God. You're probably thinking, wow, this game sounds buck wild and like something that Zach and Seth are just making up, or they might be hallucinating. Like, Zach and Seth might be actually large language models this whole time, and this is just a large hallucination they've been having for this episode. But no, this is a real game that really came out. And Seth, how did it do?
Not surprisingly, it sold very well. In fact, in February of 2004, Seaman was the third best-selling Dreamcast game in Japan, with 399,342 copies sold. The re-release, yes, so popular it would get re-released, version of the game to the PS2 in 2008 would go on to sell 305,632 copies in Japan. Reviews were positive as well. EGM gave it an 8 out of 10. Famitsu rated it an average of a 7.25 out of 10, and GamePro gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Reviewers at the time called the game innovative and weird. In 2008, Game Informer would rate it as one of the top 10 weirdest games of all time. In terms of legacy, there was a Christmas Seaman digital card made available from the Sega Direct store in Japan. This came with 2 discs where you could send messages to different people, and you could connect them to online servers and exchange Seaman Christmas wishes. In 2001, the game would be ported to PS2. A PC version was planned but never fully created. However, a client that could interact with your email was released called C-Mail. At least they didn't call it Seaman Mail. In 2007, there would be a sequel called Seaman 2, The Peking Man Rearing Kid. This sequel had you raising a 20 centimeter tall Peking Man, Homus erectus pekinis. The game was only released in Japan and is estimated to sold around 61,878 copies in 2007. Clearly, the Seaman craze at that time was over. I think it would sell well if they remastered it again.
They should put it out on Steam and just see how it does.
Just read something recently where somebody said, oh, this game came out this like 28 years ago or whatever now, or what is it? Yeah, about 28 years or something ago. Well, it's time for a remaster.
Give it to Limited Run Games. I meant Night Dive, because if you give it to Limited Run Games, it's never getting released. But if you give it to Night Dive, then at least they guarantee to remaster it, and it will look good and play well and work.
Yeah. Do you think people sell action figures of Seaman?
There was apparently some figures made. I don't know if these are custom made. They are really cursed, but someone has a picture of them on Reddit here.
I found one.
You did?
$200.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It's a $200 3D print, and it comes in Frogman Seaman, Seaman base, Seaman plus base.
Someone on eBay is selling a keychain, but it's $100.
Oh, that thing is huge. Somebody's selling it's a 3D print Seaman that's the size of your hand.
Oh, okay.
And there's a base that just says Seaman on it. And then you could also get Frogman. And I'm gonna send you this listing. It's
here's this person selling bottle cap figures. So if you want to buy a 3D printed big Seaman sculpture, you can do so. They are about $200 on Etsy, or you can buy a bottle cap figure of Gillman or Frogman. You can get that for about $60 on eBay if you know where to look.
I just feel like that's like getting that and bringing it to work and then just putting it on your desk with no context, and people coming over and being like, "What's that?" and being like, "Oh, that's my Seaman," and that's how you get fired.
If I brought that to work, I put it on my desk, and someone came up to me and said, "Hey Zach, what's that supposed to be?" I'd say, "Don't worry about it."
Just hand them the copy of the Dreamcast.
I'll just hand them an entire Dreamcast and just say, "Learn."
Just the clear version. So the one that was I believe it was packed in at one point in time with a specific version of the Dreamcast.
Yeah, there was it was popular in Japan. That's Seaman for you. That is Seaman.
That's
Seaman.
Seaman. That's Seaman for Sean.
That's Seaman for Sean. Sean, I hope we did Seaman justice, and we hope you appreciated us talking about Seaman and making jokes.
And for everybody else, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program next Sunday.
That's right. Now, to get us into our retro rewinds, Seth had me play Alien Breed Tower Assault for MS-DOS. Now, when Seth had told me to play this game, he implied that it was going to be a tower defense game. It is not, in fact, a tower defense game.
No, you implied that it was going to be a tower defense game. You said, in fact...
I said, that sounds like a tower defense game, and you said it might be the first tower defense game.
But that's the strong emphasis on might.
Fair enough.
It could not be a tower defense game.
Fair enough. You did say might. Now, it is in fact a run and gun game, kind of similar to like a twin stick shooter almost in some ways, but it's in fact a game where you play as a guy who is assaulting a tower, which is why it's called Tower Assault. Alien Breed Tower Assault is the third game in the Alien Breed franchise, which I am somewhat familiar with by title only. I've never actually played any of them besides this one. I thought it was interesting. It has a lot of really fun sci-fi graphics. It has a nice title screen that's definitely showing off the VGA graphics at the time. It's a pretty tough game though. You are immediately spawned into a minefield with turrets and small alien salamander guys who keep chasing after you. I found out there's a button that if you press makes you walk backwards. I didn't realize it was doing this, so I was very confused while I was walking backwards for a period of time. And the goal is really to get into the facility and then through the facility, but it's pretty tough. I died a few times because the mines kept going off around me. I thought the game had kind of some 90s vibes to it. I did kind of enjoy it, and I could probably see myself playing it again. I'm just not sure if I would say it holds up. It's like one of those games that I want to like put a little bit more time into, but I don't think it holds up as a game that I would just like want to play if I'm bored and thinking of something random to play sort of deal. Maybe I'll try out some of the other Alien Breed games. Or, Seth, maybe you can try out some of the Alien Breed games, because next week I want you to play Alien Breed 1 for MS-DOS.
Okie dokie. Zach had me play Holy Diver for the NES, which was released in 1989 and originally developed and published by Irem, and was recently published by Retrobit. It was originally only released in Japan on the Family Computer, aka the Famicom, and the game has you play as Randy, who is a wizard and he needs to wage a war against the Black Slayer, which involves going through dungeons and blasting things. It is tough and is actually considered one of the most difficult games for the NES and Famicom, and possibly one of the most difficult games ever made. However, the controls are really good, and it's pretty streamlined when it comes to playing the game. It does feel like that there is some inspiration from Castlevania, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It was also heavily influenced by the music album Holy Diver by Dio, and has a number of rock music references throughout the game, such as the main characters are all named after musicians: Ronnie James Dio, Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde, and Randy Rhoads. The game was supposed to come to America in 1989, but it didn't. It just never got released. So, as I said, recently published by Retrobit, they would publish it in 2018, which is 29 years after it came out. Which, I think, based on its late translation and porting to America, there is a lot of religious iconography in this game versus a standard Japanese to American localization, which at the time, if this came over in 1989, it would be a vastly different game than the game that Retrobit would go on to localize. I think it's fun. I like it. I think it's cool that we kind of get like an original Japanese game localized to the American market without heavy censorship, which is not something we would have received in 1989. The game is tough. I died in it, but it's straightforward and the controls are snappy. I liked just being able to get into the game and just start blasting stuff. I really didn't need much. Like I wasn't confused on where to go. I knew what to do and I was able to do it, and the character reacted accordingly, which is not what I can say about Time Cop, which is what Zach had me play recently. So I definitely think that the game holds up. I just don't think that if you think that you're going to go in and beat it, I don't think you will, or at least it'll be tough. There are 6 stages that you have to get through, and they are very difficult. Next week, Zach, you could play It Came from the Desert on MS-DOS.
Great, I will. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode about Seaman, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts about Seaman yourself and you want to let us know those thoughts, you can do so by emailing us at classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com. We're available wherever podcasts can be found, be it Podbean, iTunes, or iHeartRadio. We're available on social media. Look us up, Classic Gaming Brothers, CG Brothers Pod. We're also available on Twitch, though we rarely stream. We're available on YouTube, like and subscribe, and we're available on Patreon. With that being said, Seth, am I forgetting anything?
Don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Seth.
And I've been Zach.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right.
That's right.